Hey there, welcome to News and Biblical Views. I just saw this article on the front page of Drudge and I thought I'd check it out. North Korean defector tells Lester Holt world should be ready. Now, just to give you my opinion on this, I don't think we're ever going to have nuclear war. The Bible, as far as I read it, does not speak of nuclear war. It speaks of a lot of other interesting, bizarre, and sometimes scary things. But I don't think nuclear war is really it. What I see happening in North Korea is that the leader is trying to cement his position. And by having nuclear weapons, he is safeguarding himself from the possibility of being taken out by the Western powers because he may just be crazy enough to use them. And so, therefore, if the West knows that he has nuclear weapons, they're more likely to leave him alone, since he might have a trigger happy finger. The West might say, maybe we shouldn't touch this guy. He's kind of cuckoo. I personally don't feel that he would ever try to attack the West because he only has about eight nuclear weapons, and he would certainly get his butt kicked if he were to try to attack us. But they're a great deterrent from us attacking him, and I think that's what's happening. And so I just want to kind of put this in perspective because as we look at the headlines, we can kind of get that crazy feeling like, oh my goodness, the world is going nuts. And we've got to be so crazy and just so careful, and we can really start to live in fear, and that can be a dangerous place to be because, well, one, it's bad for our health, it's bad for our society, it's bad for our kids. We're looking at the doom and gloom rather than some more brighter pictures, which is what God keeps telling us in the Bible. It says, don't worry about these things. There's going to be wars and rumors of wars, and my opinion is that we will never see a nuclear war. So, according to this person, this is Seoul, South Korea, a senior North Korean defector has told NBC News that the country's desperate dictator is prepared to use nuclear weapons to strike the United States and its allies. Again, in my opinion, he is saying that so that we won't attack him. Thae Yong Ho is the most high-profile North Korean defector in 2 decades, meaning he's able to give a rare insight into the secretive authoritarian regime. According to Thae, North Korean dictator Kim Jong Un is desperate in maintaining his rule by relying on his development of nuclear weapons and ICBMs. He was using an acronym for intercontinental ballistic missiles, a long-range rocket that, in theory, would be capable of hitting the U.S. And there they have the article. You can check this out at NBCNews.com, of course. Once he sees that there is any kind of sign of a tank or an imminent threat from America, then he would use his nuclear weapons with ICBM, he added in an exclusive interview on Sunday. Thae was living in London, serving in North Korea's deputy ambassador to the United Kingdom when he and his family defected to South Korea and were announced to the world in August. He was not directly involved in North Korea's weapons program, but believes his country has reached a very significant level of nuclear development. North Korea is estimated to have upward of 8 nuclear weapons, but has not demonstrated the ability to attach them to long-range rocket and ICBM capable of hitting the United States. Analysts are unsure how close the regime is achieving this aim, but a senior official told NBC News in January that his government was ready to test fire an ICBM at any time and any place. Admiral Scott Swift, commander of the U.S. Pacific Fleet, told NBC News that American officials were particularly troubled by this latest threat. They have the nuclear capability, they've demonstrated that, he said, and then where they're going with the miniaturization of that, whether they can actually weaponize a missile, that's what's driving the current concern. Today's interview with NBC News comes against a backdrop of rising tensions surrounding North Korea, which has significantly increased its missile and nuclear tests under Kim's rule. President Donald Trump told the Financial Times newspaper on Monday that something had to be done about North Korea. This came after Defense Secretary James Mattis said the country has got to be stopped, and Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said military action was on the table. It does feel more dangerous. I'll give you 3 reasons, according to Admiral James Stavridis, an NBC News analyst and dean of the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy at Tufts University in Massachusetts. One is Kim's own precarious situation in command of the nation. Number 2 is the instability of South Korea. We've just seen the South Korean president indicted, arrested, and incarcerated. And number 3, a new and more aggressive American foreign policy coming from Washington, he added. Some analysts have warned that military action against the country might be very difficult and even disastrous. An invasion could risk a retaliatory strike against U.S. allies of Japan and South Korea, whose capital Seoul is just 50 miles from the border. Nonetheless, Thae warned America and its allies to be prepared. Well, when you think about it, Japan, we know that they have nuclear weapons. They're never, ever going to let another nuclear bomb fall on their territory. So, uh, they would certainly kick in here and use their weapons against them. The U.S., of course, is monitoring this. They're not going to let this happen. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think this is really interesting stuff, but I think it's saber rattling. He's basically trying to cement his position to not be taken out by the United States. And if he has nuclear weapons, even ones that don't work too well, that may be still enough of a deterrent so that the United States and the Western allies do not try to take him out as we did with Saddam Hussein and uh, and Gaddafi. So it makes sense, I think, from that perspective. Whether we're going to see nuclear war, I highly, highly, highly doubt it. The Bible talks about the wars and rumors of wars. We see about the rise in technology. I do believe there's going to be a genetic transformation that will be taking place in the area of transhumanism and other areas. But as far as us having an all-out nuclear war or even a very limited nuclear war, I don't think it's going to happen. In World War II, it was not a nuclear war. It was two A-bombs that were quite smaller in comparison to what we have now that were dropped on a country. And that was horrific. It was awful. And the world got to see firsthand how awful that really is. But to think that there'd actually be an exchange between one nation to another, of course, America would actually just pulverize the entire country. So he obviously knows that he might get a couple shots at us and he would hurt us, but his country would be absolutely pulverized. And so I just don't think he's that stupid. Now, when it comes to some of the extremist Muslims, that may be a different story because they actually want to start World War III. They want to start the apocalyptic scenario so that the Mahdi will come back and he'll institute his reign and rule and all that different stuff. So, that could be a very different thing. But when you have an atheistic regime who wants to live in this world and just keep his power, in my opinion, I don't think we have anything to worry about. So maybe that'll help you sleep better at night, I hope. Keep seeking the Lord, stay in His Word. We need to focus on the more positive things of life. We want to be aware of these things. We want to pray about these things, but we don't get stressed about these things because it's just not worth it. Until next time, take care and stay in the Word. And go ahead and subscribe while you're at it. Take care.